Okay, guys, here we go. So we are on packet one, and let's see. Here we go. We're on packet one, number 22. Okay, so it says complete the proof to show the base angles of an isosceles triangle are congruent. So it's given that your side RS is congruent to RT, and you need to prove that angle S is congruent to angle T. This is actually a really easy proof. It's kind of written weird, but the parts that you have to fill in are very easy. So it says U is the midpoint of ST. So they're telling you that that's the middle. The definition of midpoint says that SU is congruent to TU. So that is your first answer. It says RS is congruent to RT. Well, hello. It was given to you. That should have been super easy. Remember, givens don't always have to be first. Then they create the line RU. And because it's the reflexive property, you know that they're congruent. And then how are the two triangles congruent? By side, side, side. Then from there, if you want to go further and think about it, the reason that you know this angle is congruent to that one, because if you prove one triangle congruent to the other triangle, then all their parts are congruent. So that means that those angles are the same, these top two angles are the same, and then these corresponding angles are also the same. So there is number 22. Number 23, I think I went over this for everyone that asked. First period, I believe you were taught this lesson. Second and third period, you were not, and it was during the time that you guys were in DC, if you went on DC. So you may have missed it. You need the midpoint, or this is called the mid segment of a triangle theorem. What that says is if you have a triangle and you have a midpoint of two of the sides, that means this side's or this part's congruent to this part's congruent to that part, and you connect them. This line here in the middle is a mid segment. Mine's a little off, but you get the idea. There are two things that are true about it. It is parallel to the third side, and if we call this A, B, C, and D, AB, the mid segment, is equal to half of the length of CD, or the side it's parallel to. So for instance, if this side is 20, that means your mid segment is going to be 10. So here, that should help you solve for it, because the rest of it's pretty easy. So that means this is congruent to this, and that means 4x plus 1 is equal to half of 11x minus 16. Or opposite, you could say 2 times 4x plus 1 is equal to the 11x minus 16, whichever way you want to do it. So that should help. That should be enough for you to solve this one. Let's see. Back up to the top. A lot of people had questions about 24. If you go to your notes that, oh goodness, number 22. It may have been some note 23. It was right when Miss Hess left. But it looks like it says centers of a triangle. Then they tell you about medians. So a median is where you find the middle of a side and you connect it to the vertice that's opposite of it. So the way that you find the middle is you use slope and you find half of that. So for instance, this slope is up 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1, 2, 3. Okay, if you find half of that, then you need to go up 2 and over 1.5 to find the middle point. So up 2 and over 1.5, that is your midpoint of CB. And if you connect it to A, that line is called a median. Well, where all of them, you have to do that 3 times to find your 3 medians to see where they all meet. So then if you want to start at C, then you have to find the midpoint of AB. So if you go up 1, 2, 3, 4 and over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that means you're going to go up 2 and over 3. That is your midpoint, and then those two connect there. I'm not going to count the next one out for you, but this would be the midpoint of AC. It connects to B, and the point of concurrency where they all meet is right here, and that is your answer. All right, remember this answer, the X's for number 25. The X's are wrong. Like none of the values make any sense. So I told you to cross all of those values out. And you're just solving for Y. So it tells you that's a parallelogram. When you're looking at a parallelogram, opposite angles are congruent, but corresponding angles add up to 180. So 2Y minus 20 plus 3Y is equal to 180. So that equation will give you your answer. All right. All right, two more. Number 26. So number 26 was very abstract. So you really have to know your ordered pairs for this problem. So if you look here, your X value is A because that's your X value. And if you go over to your Y axis, your Y value right there is B. Okay. Then this value is, so this value right here is C, and it's on the X axis, so that's why your Y value is 0. So you're trying to figure out what is the X value of that point, and then what is the Y value, okay? Well, what they share is a Y value. This point right here and this point right here are at the same level of Y. So that means that they share the Y value, which is B. Okay, so by process of elimination, you can take out all of these answer choices and your answer choice is C. But I'm going to show you how to get the other part of it. So that is your Y value. Now, the X value doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but I'm going to explain it now. So your X value is here. That is the X value that you're finding. And if you look at it, it's to the left of C. So you would think that you're going to take C and you're going to subtract something. However, for this answer choice, it's A plus C, or we can think about it as C plus A. So let's see why that is. So let's look at our A value. This is your A value, okay? First things first, it's a negative value. So really this is C plus A. Negative value for A, which is going to compensate for going a little bit left on the Y-axis. So that is one reason why they're adding. Another reason is if you look here, this is a parallelogram, so that means these values are the same. So if you take C and you subtract A or add that negative A, then you are going to get this X value right here. So that is why the answer is C. All right, last but certainly not least. All right, it tells you in the diagram that ADE is congruent to CEB. Okay, so it's those two side triangles. So if I were you, I would draw, like if this is your EOC, I would draw this. If not, I would label it on your paper right now. That means this side is equal to this side. This piece is equal to this piece. This piece is equal to that piece. This angle is equal to that angle. This one is equal to this one. And this angle is equal to that angle. Okay, now it asks you, how can this information be used to show that ABC is a parallelogram? So we're trying to prove parallel sides. So answer choice A, corresponding parts of the triangle show that both pairs of opposite sides of the quadrilateral parallel. A lot of people thought it was answer choice A. Let's look at it. So Parallel comes from angles, alternate interior, alternate exterior, corresponding. So if you look at your angles, you're given this congruent angle to this one. So that part right there says that AD is congruent to BC. Okay? You're given another set of congruent angles. And it's this, you use this transversal, and it's this and this. However, this is still proving the same set of parallel sides. AD is still parallel to BC. So the problem with part A, let's go through all this. Sorry. The problem with part A is it's not both, it's one. So that's why A is out. This does not, it only proves that AD is parallel to BC, not the other part. The next two are easily canceled out. Corresponding parts of the triangle show that both pairs of opposite sides of the equilateral are congruent. Well, the problem here is that it doesn't show that AB is congruent to DC. So it's not both. Once again, it's one. C. Corresponding parts of the triangle show that both pairs of opposite angles of the quadrilateral are congruent. When they talk about opposite angles of the quadrilateral, they're talking about all of B and all of D. Well, we don't know what the full measure of B and D are. We just know parts of it, just like A and C. So this one is totally out. So the only option is D. So now let's look at it. Corresponding parts of the triangle show that the diagonals bisect each other, and they do. So if you look here, remember, these are your diagonals. Okay, this part and this part are equal. Your other two parts are equal, so they bisect each other. So that's why the answer is D. And we're finally done. Let's see.